Most men today don't lose their power because women took it from them. They lose it because they gave it away. They apologize for being masculine. They shrink themselves to be acceptable. They chase validation instead of purpose. And then they wonder why they feel weak, empty, and unheard. The world is full of loud opinions, but here's the truth: no one wants to say out loud. A man without power is a man without identity. Masculine power isn't aggression, ego, or control. It's presence, certainty, and direction. It's the ability to stand firm when everyone else folds. It's the quiet force that makes people listen when you speak and notice when you walk in. If you've ever felt like something inside you has gone dull, if you've ever felt disconnected from your strength, if you've ever looked in the mirror and knew you were meant to be more than the version you've settled for, this is your wake-up call. Today, I'm going to show you 5 ways to reclaim your masculine power, not by becoming someone else, but by returning to who you were before the world trained it out of you. Ready? Let's rebuild the man you were born to be. Point 1. Stop seeking validation and start leading your own life. The first step in reclaiming your masculine power is brutally simple. Stop living for approval. Every time you change your behavior just to be liked, every time you silence yourself to avoid judgment, every time you wait for permission before making a move, you weaken your own identity. A man who needs validation is a man who has forgotten his mission. And here's the truth: people don't respect a man who tries to please everyone. They respect the man who knows who he is, with or without applause. Modern society trains men to ask instead of decide. They're taught to be nice, safe, inoffensive. But all that does is create men who are scared to take up space. Masculine power begins the moment you stop asking, "Will they like me?" and start asking, "Does this align with who I am?" That shift is everything. The moment your decisions come from internal conviction instead of external approval, people feel it. Your energy changes. You stop moving like a boy waiting for acceptance and start moving like a man with direction. This doesn't mean you become rude, cold, or antisocial. It means you become self-led. You're not afraid to say no. You're not afraid to disagree. You're not afraid to walk away from anything or anyone that forces you to shrink. That's real power, the ability to walk alone without collapsing. Ask yourself, how much of my life is built on what I truly want, and how much is built on what others expect from me? If the answer stings, good. That's awareness waking you up. From today on, every decision you make stops being about approval and starts being about alignment. You set your standards, you choose your path, you decide what matters. Because a man who validates himself becomes untouchable. When you no longer need applause, people start giving it to you naturally. Why? Because certainty is magnetic. Leadership is attractive. A man who moves from inner conviction becomes the man others follow, not the man who follows the crowd. You don't reclaim masculine power by being louder, you reclaim it by being rooted. The world doesn't need more agreeable men. It needs men who stand firm even when no one claps. And the moment you stop chasing validation is the moment they start chasing you. Point 2, build a life that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. A powerless man waits for life to give him something to feel proud of. A powerful man builds a life that speaks for him without saying a word. Masculine power is not something you talk about. It's something people feel when they look at the way you live. Your habits, your discipline, your direction, your standards, those are your silent weapons. And the moment you start shaping your life around your purpose instead of people, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Weak men make the mistake of thinking power is about control over others. It's not. Real power is control over yourself, your time, your emotions, your priorities, your reactions. If your mood depends on her text, on society's approval, on someone else's validation, then you're not in control, you're enslaved. Masculine energy comes from being anchored, from knowing that even if everyone leaves, your life still stands, your goals still stand, you still stand. This is why every man needs something bigger than relationships, attention, or social approval, a mission, a direction, a craft, something he wakes up for that isn't based on who stays or who leaves. The gym, the business, the discipline, the skill building, these aren't hobbies. They are anchors, they are reminders that your worth comes from what you build, not what you're given. And here's the psychological shift. When your life is full, you stop clinging, you stop chasing, you stop negotiating your worth. Women, friends, opportunities, they stop being the source of your value and start becoming an addition to a life that already has foundation. That flips the power. Instead of, I hope they pick me, it becomes, I choose who earns a place here. Masculine power is not loud. It's not emotional. It doesn't need to prove itself. It's in the way you walk, the way you work, the way you hold your boundaries. You don't need respect. You embody it. You don't beg for loyalty. You attract it. So ask yourself, if everyone disappeared tomorrow, would your life still stand? If the answer is no, then your work starts now. Build a life so strong, so rooted, so mission-driven that no one, not a woman, not society, not a trend, can take your power again. Point 3, master your emotions instead of letting them master you. One of the clearest signs a man has lost his power is when his emotions control him. He gets angry too fast, needy too fast, jealous too fast, offended too fast. He reacts instead of responds. He explodes or collapses depending on how the world treats him. That is not masculine strength, that is emotional slavery. A powerful man doesn't suppress his emotions, but he commands them. He feels everything, but he's controlled by nothing. Here's the truth most men never hear. A man who can't control his emotions will always be controlled by someone who can. You can be physically strong, financially stable, even attractive, but if one text, one argument, or one rejection can break you, your power is fragile. Masculine energy is calm under pressure. It stays centered when things fall apart. It doesn't panic, beg, or explode. It observes, thinks, and moves with intention. Your emotions are signals, not steering wheels. Anger can show you a boundary was crossed. Jealousy can show you where you feel insecure. Sadness can show you where you need healing. But the moment you act on impulse, you hand your power away. Emotional mastery means you register the feeling, but you decide the reaction. And when a man becomes unreactive, he becomes unpredictable. Unpredictable men are respected, feared, and desired because they cannot be manipulated. Women naturally test emotional control, not because they're evil, but because they are biologically wired to gauge strength. If a woman can trigger you into chasing, shouting, or proving something, she instantly loses trust in your core. But if she tries to provoke you and you stay calm, collected, unfazed, the energy shifts. She feels your power without you raising your voice. Here's the shift. Stop reacting to life. Start responding to life. Before you speak, breathe. Before you argue, detach. Before you act, think. That pause is where masculine power lives. The man who doesn't break under pressure becomes the man others depend on, not because he's emotionless, but because he's emotionally disciplined. So ask yourself, do I control my emotions, or do my emotions control me? If the answer hurts, good. That pain is the doorway to power, because once you master your inner world, the outer world has nothing left to use against you. Point 4, rebuild your relationship with discomfort. Every powerful man you admire has one thing in common. He is comfortable doing what most men avoid. Weak men run from discomfort. Strong men use it. Because here's the raw truth. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you trade a piece of your masculinity for temporary ease. Your power doesn't disappear in one big moment. It fades through small habits, sleeping in when you should rise, scrolling when you should be working, numbing yourself instead of facing your reality. Discomfort isn't your enemy. It's the gym where your strength is trained. Masculine power is built in places the average man refuses to go, waking up early when no one is watching, showing up at the gym when your body wants excuses, having difficult conversations instead of avoiding them, choosing discipline over dopamine, purpose over pleasure. The world constantly offers you escape, distraction, and softness. But every time you choose comfort, you lose hardness, hunger, and edge, the very traits that make a man magnetic and respected. You want to feel alive again? Stop avoiding the friction. Step into it. Lift heavier than you want to. Work longer than you feel like. Say the truth you're scared to say. Start the project you've been delaying. A man's confidence never comes from what's easy. It comes from surviving what was hard. That's why workouts feel good after pain, why success feels earned after sacrifice, why self-respect grows when you do what you didn't want to do. Discomfort is not punishment. It's proof you are evolving. Here's the mindset shift. Most men ask, how can I make life easier? A powerful man asks, how can I make myself stronger? The world gets quieter when you stop begging for comfort and start building capacity. Suddenly, stress doesn't break you. Rejection doesn't shake you. Challenges don't scare you. You don't need life to be gentle. You became a man who can handle impact. So ask yourself, when was the last time I did something uncomfortable on purpose? If the answer is too long ago, that's exactly why you feel stuck. Comfort kills a man slowly. Discomfort forges him into something unstoppable. Point 5. Protect your boundaries, like a man who values himself. A man without boundaries is a man without power. The moment you let people walk over you, disrespect you, drain your time, or take advantage of your kindness, you silently confirm that your value is negotiable. And once your value becomes negotiable, you stop being a man they respect and start being a man they manage. Masculine power is not just about confidence, strength, or leadership. It's about the ability to say no without fear, guilt, or explanation. Weak men think setting boundaries will make people leave. Strong men know that only the wrong people leave when you set them. Every time you tolerate disrespect, every time you shrink your standards to keep someone comfortable, every time you bite your tongue to keep the peace, you're not being kind. You're abandoning yourself. A powerful man doesn't raise his voice. He raises his standards. If someone wants access to his time, his energy, his attention, they must earn it. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. They don't block love. They filter it. You don't let everyone in. You don't give unlimited access. You don't explain why you choose what you choose. You simply make it clear, this is what I allow. This is what I don't. If you cross the line, you're gone. That clarity is attractive to women, respected by men, and feared by manipulators. Why? Because a man with boundaries can't be controlled. Here's the truth. Every time you let something slide just this once, you teach people how to treat you. Every time you say, it's fine, when it's not, you weaken the backbone of your identity. But when you choose self-respect over approval, something shifts inside you. You start to trust yourself, and that trust is the root of masculine confidence. A man with boundaries doesn't need to be aggressive. He doesn't need to beg. He doesn't need to prove anything. His energy communicates, I know my worth, and I refuse to live below it. That is power. That is presence. That is masculinity restored. So ask yourself, where in my life am I allowing what I shouldn't? Who do I need to stop tolerating? What line do I need to draw today? Because the moment you enforce your boundaries, you stop being a man people use and start becoming a man they respect, follow, and fear losing. Point 6. Reconnect with your instincts instead of living only in your head. One of the biggest reasons men lose their masculine power today is because they've been trained to overthink everything and feel nothing. They analyze every move, question every emotion, doubt every decision, and in the process, they disconnect from the raw, instinctive side of masculinity that once made men decisive, sharp, grounded, and unshakably confident. A man is at his weakest when he lives only in his mind. Why? Because the mind can be manipulated. Society can shame it. People can guilt it. Doubt can paralyze it. But instinct, the gut, the inner compass, the primal signal inside you cannot be negotiated. It's not polite, not politically correct, not fearful. It knows when something is off. It knows when someone is lying. It knows when a situation isn't aligned with your truth. That instinct is your masculine GPS. But most men have muted it with overthinking, fear of judgment, and constant hesitation. Masculine power is not reckless, but it is decisive. Men lose attraction, respect, and authority the moment they start waiting for certainty instead of choosing and creating it. Women don't follow men who aren't sure. People don't trust men who need a committee to make a move. Leadership comes from instinct first. Logic supports it second. Start small. If something feels wrong, don't explain it away. Trust the signal. If something drains your energy, cut it off. If someone disrespects you, address it immediately, not weeks later. If your gut tells you to act, act before your brain talks you out of it. Because here's the reality. The longer you hesitate, the weaker you feel. The faster you decide, the stronger you become. That's why warriors, athletes, leaders, they train instinct. The body reacts before the mind hesitates. That's masculine power in motion. And here's the shift most men never make. You don't build confidence by thinking. You build it by acting. Every time you follow your instinct and the world doesn't collapse, your power rises. Every time you ignore it and regret it later, your self-trust dies a little more. So ask yourself, when did I stop trusting myself? When did I start outsourcing my decisions to others? Because the moment you reconnect with your instincts, you stop living as a spectator and start moving like a man again. And a man in tune with his instincts is a man no one can control. 7. Surround yourself with men who sharpen you, not weaken you. A man cannot rise in power if he's surrounded by people who pull him back into weakness. You can be disciplined, focused, and purpose-driven, but if your environment is soft, unfocused, and full of distractions, eventually you will become just like it. Masculine power is not just something you build within. It's something that is reinforced or destroyed by the people around you. Look at your circle. Do the men around you challenge you or comfort your excuses? Do they push you to level up, or do they normalize wasting time, complaining, and living without direction? If you're the strongest or smartest one in your group, you're not growing, you're shrinking. A man becomes sharper around warriors. He becomes dull around spectators. Masculinity is not meant to be built in isolation. Men evolve through brotherhood, discipline, accountability, and challenge. That's why ancient tribes, armies, fight clubs, and elite teams all create strong men. They don't compete against each other, they compete into each other's strength. When you're around men who are locked into their mission, you don't feel threatened. You feel activated. Their presence forces you to rise, not relax. On the other hand, weak company breeds weak thinking. Men who blame instead of build, men who gossip instead of grind, men who numb their lives instead of improving them, men who settle and call it peace. If your circle doesn't inspire you, it's not a circle, it's a cage. And the longer you stay in it, the more average you become. A powerful man doesn't just detox his habits, he detoxes his social environment. Not everyone deserves access to your time, energy, or momentum. Some people aren't toxic, they're just too small for the man you're becoming. Here's the shift. Stop looking for men who make you feel comfortable. Look for men who make you feel unprepared, challenged, and hungry again. Because comfort builds boys, pressure builds men. Surround yourself with men who force you to sharpen your mind, your discipline, your mission, and your standards. Because no matter how strong you are alone, you will always rise faster in the presence of powerful men. And the man who chooses his circle with intention never loses his edge. Conclusion, 200 words. You don't reclaim your masculine power by accident. You reclaim it by choice, by rebuilding the parts of you the world, comfort, and approval have slowly weakened. You stop seeking validation and start leading your own life. You build a mission so strong that no one's opinion can shake it. You master your emotions instead of letting them control you. You train yourself to walk into discomfort instead of running from it. You protect your boundaries because you finally respect yourself. You reconnect with your instincts and start acting instead of overthinking. And you surround yourself with men who sharpen you, not soften you. Masculine power isn't loud. It isn't desperate. It isn't performative. It's calm, grounded, self-led, and undeniable. It's the energy of a man who knows who he is, with or without attention, without approval, without a crowd. If you felt even one of these points hit you in the chest, that means the real you is still alive under the noise. He's just waiting to be activated again. Because at the end of the day, life doesn't reward the man who fits in. It rewards the man who stands firm, builds himself, and refuses to shrink. This world doesn't need weaker men. It needs men who remember their power and reclaim it.